And this week, we are going to set the computer on a stable surface since I dropped and broke my laptop last week, right in the middle of the live stream, because we are definitely not instant perfect over here. So I'm Dawn, this is Abby. Sorry we're late. We had more technical difficulties that I think for once I solved relatively quickly, so my apologies. Hope everybody's well out there today. Okay, so that's, I guess we can see people there, I'm not sure. Anyway, Abby has made wonderful food. Again,
I
because
picked up today. Today I was lazy.
Well, she picked up, but that's cool. That is a lemon beet hummus. Where did you get this? Fresh Market?
Yeah, but you can get it at Publix usually. It's really good.
A lemon beet
Gotta try
hummus.
that.
Ooh, and then some nice, what, turkey and what roll-ups?
Like a turkey pesto, goat cheese, or chicken pesto, goat cheese, and a turkey apple brie roll.
Oh my God.
That's
And
kinda
pretty
good.
plates and chips for the hummus. Sarika's not here yet. She's on her way, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
She said she was leaving quite a while ago. I wonder if she got stuck at that detour.
She said she would leave shortly.
Shortly,
But
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of marked, you know.
It is. It is kind of marked. Okay. So anyway, here we are. We did not pick a topic today because we're all sort of undone by everything, I think.
I like the topic of collective effervescence.
Oh my God, you hate me. That's what it is.
Well, no, but that wasn't originally coined by, we shall not say her name.
That person.
It's actually a really timely thing as well, because I think that one of the things that we're missing as a community is that, and one of the things that we need in order to not be so divided is to have common experiences, which are not the same when they are, you know, on FaceTime or Zoom.
It's
or
not
whatever.
The same.
And
yeah.
I do realize that people are going out. I do realize that, you know, we're trying to get back to normal, but I almost feel like it's a little bit head in the sand here because, you know, personally, well, I had COVID before everybody else. I was like a trendsetter. I had it in March of last year. And then I had a vaccine this year, also in March. And then I just had COVID again. And I'm hearing of more and more and more people that are getting sick and a lot of people dying. I'm actually hearing of more people dying this year than last year. So I'm very reluctant with my group to have, you know, gatherings. Now, I still go out and I do, but I don't want to be responsible for a big group of people.
I know. And then it was that super spreader event that Abby had.
Right. Which we totally want to avoid. And again, I go out, I felt obviously falsely protected from getting it again because I had it and B had a vaccine, and I got it and it knocked me down for a week. I mean, obviously I wasn't hospitalized and I'm very grateful that it wasn't, you know, worse than it was. But you know, so I go out now. I would hope that my antibodies are up, but I'm just worried about everyone else, you know.
I'm worried about everyone else too, and I really have to say that I am kind of horrified by the CDC's apparent complete inability to manage the messaging properly and not climb out of their ivory tower. Did you see what they suggested for the holidays the other day about the fan?
No.
Everyone should get a box fan and open the window. Right. Cue the run on box fans. And they don't.
I mean, it doesn't sound like a terrible idea.
It's actually a very good idea. It's a very good idea, and it is. I had done research on this years ago for something totally different. And a fan and an open window are the best way to ventilate a room.
Yeah.
But it's as if it's guys like, can you get outside of the Beltway and understand how the rest of the country lives and acts? And
right.
There's no apparent sense of how people actually behave.
So what do you mean?
So, for example, in May, and I brought this up before, but I'm obsessed with it. You know, if you're vaccinated, you can take off your masks. How did they not? I mean, it took me 10 seconds to realize that what that meant was nobody was going to wear a mask ever again.
Well, People are though.
No, but they weren't in May when they
Right,
said take them
right.
off.
Yeah.
And because they already knew the percentage of people who were resisting wearing them.
Mm-hmm.
And so somehow they actually thought that would encourage the unvaccinated to get vaccinated. And it's like, dude, like, again, like, please go out in the real world. And what really irritates me is nobody wants to talk about the fact that within 6 to 8 weeks of that announcement is when we got Delta, when everything started really spreading. But nobody wants to talk about, oh, maybe it had to do with the fact that we told everybody they could take their masks off.
So the image that came to my mind when you were saying that, and the reason I was laughing is because what came to my mind was like, we, the American people, are like these, like the children that we want to get out of our mask. We don't want to wear our mask. We don't want to wear
We
our
don't want to
mask.
do anything we're told to do.
And the CDC finally relented because they've had us so long. It's like we stomped our feet enough and we got
we got our way.
Yeah. But you know, it doesn't matter how inconvenient it is. It doesn't make it go away because we want it to be gone because it's
we're very good at wishful thinking as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny when you say that because you said we, the American people. I use we all the time because I feel like that's the way you describe society. We, the people, you know. And I have a friend who finds that so such an irritating trait.
To say we, the American people?
That say we. When I say we can't behave, we can't. And she always calls me on it. And she says, why do you say we? It's not all of us. But I just think it's a convention, right? When we say we, it's understood that I mean us in general.
And that's almost like a semantics thing because if you think about it, so if there's a group of people and they take a vote, there's some people that didn't vote for the same thing, but then you have to stand up and say we.
That's a really good point, right? We elected this person.
Or we did this.
Which is
so
true.
It doesn't mean every single person in that we, but we as a majority decided this.
I like that. And I think, for what little good it does, that saying we is collective. It's not effervescent, but it's not divisive. No. You know what I mean?
I'm going to read the definition of that because it really is actually very beautiful. And I think it is a part of coming together as a community, experiencing things together in person, in real life. It's like, you know, how performers talk about the energy that they get from the audience.
When my friend and
the audience feeds off of each other.
When my friend and I went to watch the shuttle launch, it was at least half of the incredible coolness of that was looking around at all the people looking up to the sky.
And that's, I mean, you think about a concert and people all lighting a light. It used to be a lighter on that old.
Now it's a cell phone.
You know, now it's the cell phones. But so collective effervescence is a sociological concept coined by Emile Durkheim. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. According to Durkheim, a community or society may at times come together and simultaneously communicate the same thought and participate in the same action. I don't know if this person was referring to. Okay, so when individuals,
oh my God, this is good. By the way, this is fantastic.
Isn't that fantastic? When individuals come into close contact with one another, and when they are assembled in such a fashion, a certain electricity is created and released, leading participants to a high degree of collective emotional excitement or delirium. So it'll be interesting to see, and I'm sure there's already studies being done about how the lack of having these experiences is affecting us, because it's being discussed, you know, how people are feeling, you know, people are quitting their jobs and they're feeling like this weight, this COVID coloring to everything, which it's almost like pulling something heavy.
Funny. My dark mind, when you say, you know, I think about the flip side of it, the negative side, the mob rule. But it is the dark side of that energy.
Yeah, it is the dark side of it, because the positive side is that hey, wow, look at us all together having the same experience. Look at us all.
Yes.
We are all one.
Yes.
Basically, it
Yes.
boils down to that.
Yes.
So we definitely need more reminders. We are all one. So the issue is, how do we find safe ways to create that experience now?
But that's interesting, safe ways, because the other thing that I'm thinking about a lot is, we had, I believe, like more homicides last year than since 1996.
Oh,
We have more
domestic
suicide-
violence.
Yeah, domestic violence, the suicides, the drug overdoses. And I don't believe that we as a country are factoring that in to what level of safety can we accept, understanding that life is not without risk, so that we can start to mitigate all of these other problems that are a direct consequence of our sometimes hysterical desire to stay safe. I do not believe we are factoring in those other costs enough.
So factoring them in order to do what? Because
So
to me
let's
that
say-
sounds like, let's go get vaccinated so we have
No,
everybody
but let's say-
vaccinated.
Let's say,
I think there's
we
a
can
comment. Oh no, that was you.
we can reopen indoor dining at capacity, so that people have jobs, so that they don't go home and beat their partner, so that they and maybe sorry, one person is going to get COVID and die, but 10 other people are not going to be in the ER from having have the shit beaten out of them. We are not thinking about this in that way.
But I think that even if you did look at the numbers, there's probably a greater risk with COVID.
I don't know.
I do, but it'd be interesting.
A greater
to see
risk
what the
of
number.
death or long-term illness, I'm not sure, because that's pretty small still.
Of long-term illness from COVID?
Yeah,
No,
of long COVID, what is it, 20%?
But that's a lot. I mean, didn't we just hit what, 750,000 in
Right.
the US?
So 10% is 70,000, so 140,000.
That's a lot of people.
All right. So let's add up. How many more murders have there been? How many more drug overdoses have there been? But we don't think like that.
Well, I think that potentially there needs to be, we need to explore solutions to solve or to minimize the crime. Look at the reasons.
Right.
Yes, people are together, but maybe we need to put things in infrastructure maybe in place, more places for women who are victims of domestic abuse.
Right,
to
but
go,
what I'm
things
saying
like
is,
that.
but people who are vaccinated are also dying. So now they're not going anywhere because they're afraid. And I think that we have blown this out of proportion at this point. I really do. And I feel like we're terrible at assessing risk in general. Humans are, not just Americans. Human beings are terrible at assessing risk. And I think in this particular case, it's really biting us in the ass, because we're not looking at the whole picture from an actuarial perspective.
Well, it'd
and
be
that
very
concerns
difficult
me.
to definitely attribute, there's a certain percentage of, violent deaths and,
Right.
et cetera, that are not directly because of COVID.
Right.
There
But you could
is
look
an
at the-
increase.
and make an inference.
But that could be a big inference, because
could be.
now it could also be people have quit their jobs. So when people don't have money, then they become more violent. And that's not directly.
But they quit their jobs because they're so terrified.
No, sometimes, no, that's
So
what I was talking about before.
Oh, I see what
People
you're saying.
have this weight, it's like they've gotten this burnout from COVID, like
Mhm.
not because of COVID, but is one of the results of COVID. People are like, I mean, I've read these articles. People are just quitting their
Mhm.
jobs and drones, not because they're afraid, but because they just. I wonder if it's like asking themselves if it has created a kind of navel gazing, or a kind of like,
Mhm.
what is this
I
all
think it
there is
has.
to life?
I think it has.
know,
I think you're right.
But is this all there is to life? And is there, but colored with the depression of being isolated and being away,
That's what I mean.
and being,
And I think the media, it's the all COVID all the time,
yeah,
is causing a weight as well.
yes, it could be. I don't know. I'm not as eager to say, okay, so someone dies, so be it. Like,
But we do that every day.
Mm,
We lose 30,000 people a year to car accidents.
yes,
That's a
but-
price we accept.
Right, but you're getting in the car. I don't know. It's like a choice. You may not have a choice
Mhm.
about getting COVID if you're out and people aren't wearing a mask
Mhm.
when they could have.
But
You
I'm
know.
not.
And it's
People
the
could
same
choose
thing,
not
you
to
get
drive
in-
drunk when they
But you
could
get
have.
it. But you get into that car, and we do have a mandate that says put on your seatbelt.
But we think falsely, because we're terrible at assessing risk, that we are the ones in control of whether we get in an accident. For the most part, even subconsciously, we do believe that. We all know
We are in
that it
control
could be
of
the
getting
drunk
in the car
driver.
or not.
Right. But we believe falsely that we have much more control over whether or not we get into a car accident than we actually do.
Well, you kind of have to go through life not fearful that
Well-
you're gonna be late, but not.
But that's what I mean.
Mhm.
And I'm starting to feel like that at this point. At what point does this become just too high of a cost for us? And I look at the kids, right? And I look at the schools
Kids
that are,
terrible.
it's terrible. I look at the schools that are shutting down again, and I'm like, guys, like, you can't. You just can't. They've already lost over a year.
So it's basically the ship is sinking. There's only all these lifeboats, so some people are going to die, which is kind of the way that that presents itself.
Yeah. Because again, just like vaccines are for the good of the many, so are things like having kids in school. There will be a small
But let's
percentage
take
of
that
kids.
analogy of the ship, and it says, okay, there's only this amount of lifeboats, but we're working and we're building more.
Yeah.
So let's hold tight until we get some more lifeboats.
But that's what I don't think we can hold tight with our kids. I think it's way past time. I think our
Well,
kids need to be in school. Because I think that the cost to society of these kids being unable to be together is way too high. And when you talk about not knowing the long-term effects, this is a mass experiment on our kids.
I think Sarah is here.
Okay.
I think that's a valid point. Hi, dear. Sorry, are you guys standing here because my phone's on?
No. Hey, I just got down here. Was it me or was that construction?
No, I called Abby and I'm like, I can't deal with this. You moved my cheese. I can't go down Bayview. I don't know how to get there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good,
I'm a little
good.
sweaty. That's why I didn't.
No.
Why don't you sit over here so that the camera gets you? I'll sit over
Oh, I
there.
thought you were moving the food to her, and I'm like, you're just mean. Today.
I'm not moving the food to her. We were going to try to eat before you got here. but-
No.
I'm gonna be, but I started talking because that's what I do.
You got it fixed?
No, I had to get a new fucking laptop. Disaster. $600 for the screen. Only You Break I Fix would fix it. And then it voids whatever other warranty. Microsoft won't fix it. Best Buy won't fix it. They'll just send me a refurbished one. I was just sick. So I had to get a new one, and then I transfer everything over. And then I get here, and of course I got everything else working. And then the camera thing is a problem, but incredibly, I Googled the solution and it worked, which was amazing. But yeah, I was just sick.
Can I just say
Oh.
this? Are we live?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I just say this? You guys look great, and I
Thank you.
sit here. Listen,
You
I
look
told
black
myself-
and beautiful.
Wait a second.
Oh,
I'm hungover. I have no makeup on. Look at that. I do not look great. I'm hiding it with my glasses. somewhat.
Oh my
But,
God! I need
somewhat.
to get
We did the bag
something.
Got a
photos.
pimple. I mean, it's like
We did the
you know.
bag photo shoot yesterday, and the photographer said to me, "This is as much makeup as I ever wear. Right? It's concealer, it's foundation / sunscreen, it's blush, it's powder, and it's mascara, and it's eyebrow stuff. So it's a
I
lot
don't have
for me.
mascara.
It's a lot for me. That's a lot for me. It's like I'm up to like 7 products, right? And so I walk in there, and to me, the thing about makeup is you only better, right? I don't want to look like I have makeup on. I want to just look like
Well,
myself,
some-
except
some-
better. Oh yeah, no. Anyway, I walk in, and either this is a compliment to my "you only better" or truly a terrible insult. And she's like, "Did you bring makeup that you wanted to wear?" And I'm like, "No, this is all I ever wear." And she tried so hard to keep a poker face.
It's just when you. I mean, I think that when you hit a certain age, we can't be wearing. I mean, it makes me look worse.
Oh,
this has
talk-
only been the
well,
last year or so.
isn't
funny,
this kind of
so
what
it's
we were
been
talking
terrible.
about that you were asking about
You're
something
not
to highlight?
you're not.
I
in
know,
here.
because I'm going outside to smoke and I'm
Oh.
coming back in while you ladies talk.
Okay,
but
but let's.
I have to remember this because I have no brain. I owe your daughter another 40 from Monday. I told
Oh.
her to give it to you.
Mhm.
And I put the model release forms in my handbag and then left them in my handbag the whole
So you
freaking
want
photo
me to sign
shoot.
it?
I do
Okay.
need her to sign that,
No
please.
problem.
Thank you. And I will be back in a minute, ladies, and you can catch up
Yes,
and then I'll
let's
get in the
adjust
frame.
this because no, don't
Why
go
are
too
we
close.
No, I'm
in the
trying to go
center?
this way. I'm like, oh God.
Center. I tried to hide from the camera, and you're putting me right back in it.
I am putting you right back in
Wow.
it, and I'm not getting any closer to the edge. Holy cow. Oh.
You know what you might need?
Mm.
One of those like stand things
Yeah, I could think about getting that.
to secure it.
Well, so if I have the protection.
Well, we had outside. We used the grill.
Oh yeah. I have
You know, we could use. We could
We
put it
could.
right there.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
I have the protection on every device I own except this, which I let expire in July because I cheaped out. And I'm telling you, the only reason you buy that protection is so you don't break shit.
I believe
Because
that.
you only break it when you don't have protection.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh, I think so. That's my theory of life. You buy insurance so you won't need it. My father, he did not believe in life insurance because he said that they were betting you that you were going to die.
But you are gonna die.
No, that you were going to die after you paid them off. And you were betting them that you were going to die before you paid them off, which is absolutely how life insurance works. And he said, I'm not betting against myself. And finally, a couple of years before he died, my mother convinced him to get a small policy. But it's absolutely true. When you get life insurance, you're saying, I bet you that I'm going to die before I pay all my premiums.
Mhm.
And the insurance company is saying, I bet you're not.
Mhm.
I just think it's just to secure. Like I have term life insurance, so mine is going to end in a few
Right.
years, and I'm not going to get another one because
Right.
the premise behind it is that should I die before my mortgage and stuff is paid off,
Right.
my daughter's not left
Exactly. You do it for
carrying
your
that.
kids.
So you do that, but at this point, you
He's
know,
an
I'm not
adult.
gonna-
And as my
I'm-
insurance
yeah.
agent said to me, which was awesome, he's so honest. I said, do I really need life insurance at this point? And he's like, no, not unless you want to be really, really nice to your kids.
Right.
I was like, nope. Youngest one's 21? No.
Yeah. Well, I think what this year is the first year that I got the life insurance on my own. Like I'm transitioning on this whole entrepreneur thing, so everything was like going through the jobs and different thing. And listen, I'm one of those people who I've never had a job, any job, for longer than 2 years. Never. But I've always done what I'm doing now. Then that's something that I love to do. I enjoy doing it. I just didn't quite know how to structure myself.
Mhm.
So going and working for different companies, corporate, and I learned how to do that. So now I'm fully immersed into my entrepreneurship right now, solely relying on what I've learned and what I know.
Good for you.
But it's scary. Like it is really scary because I look at what Dawn said about her father feeling like he's not betting against himself. Like I'm betting on me at this point. Like all of it is falling on me to make it work and still pay the insurance, pay all the bills, get everything done. And I was listening to this on Clubhouse, by the way. I was on Clubhouse. I randomly drop in Clubhouse sometimes and just to hear some conversation and see if it's something I want to participate in. And there was this guy talking about security and freedom and how it was in a group. Honestly, the group was talking with Roland Martin. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a political commentator. He does a lot of different things, and he's specific on the state of Black he was talking about now being the time for the Black community to go to these major companies that flew the BLM flag to, gain revenue support. They make money. They said they were gonna,
Mhm.
therefore George Floyd and all of that. Now is the time for the Black community to say, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Where are your marketing dollars going? Where are you spending your marketing dollars? And really, really leveraging, and I hate to use that word, but it's economics. Is this what we're talking about? And
You want to put it up here?
I'm thinking, yeah, sorry. So we can get all three of us. Sorry about that, Abby. I was trying to make it so that we didn't all
You're
have to
fine.
move, but
Now you just do my messy.
you want to slide this way?
I'll go here.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. And we're all in there. Okay.
Oh, look at that.
Wow, that's better.
Yes, much better. So I'm sorry,
And your
Sarah.
computer is safe.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
But no, he was talking about just the state of Black economics in America and how we need to have an agenda, and economics needs to be at the forefront of it. So the guy was speaking about
Because money drives
freedom.
everything.
He was speaking about freedom and security,
Mm-hmm.
and he was speaking on how he made it specific to Black people, but I think it's people, period. But he spoke on the fact that, a lot of Black people say they want freedom, but what they want is security. And security is going to a job and knowing that if I go to this job, I have a paycheck coming this day. I have a paycheck coming this day, and I have this insurance, and I have this, and it helps me to be able to do this. And
So
not
security-
realizing, when he says not realizing that your security is your bondage, because in freedom is where you don't limit how much you make, how much time you spend with
Mhm.
someone, how much time you're away from your kids.
Mhm.
You have the freedom to do what you want to do and leverage your talents, your skills, your gifts to do it. And it was like, wow, I never thought about it like that. How it was
And
security.
I was just gonna say the exact opposite.
But
To
that's
me,
these,
in my mind, security is freedom.
and like I was saying, just to preface it, I was in a group with on Clubhouse with Roland Martin, where he was talking about the state of the Black community, and he was speaking on this being the mentality of Black Americans and Black that we're asking for security. We're saying we want freedom, but security is what we're really asking for, because a lot of us don't want that responsibility, but some of us do. It's in the freedom that we don't limit how much we're worth, our value, our time, and everything. And
There's financial security. There's social security. There's emotional security.
Mhm.
There's physical. There's all different kinds, right?
Mhm.
And I think that, so to me, if I feel physically secure, financially secure, emotionally secure, then that I find that freeing.
Mhm.
Because when I'm insecure,
Mhm.
that colors everything else.
I was telling Abby while you were outside that, like, I'm one of those people who I've never had a single job for longer than 2 years,
Wow.
but I've always done what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So I am fully immersed in my entrepreneurship now. So I have my hands in a lot of different things. But I find so much freedom in doing this that I see also too. I also see why I needed the different experiences at the different jobs,
Mm-hmm.
because they definitely have equipped me with the skills and the knowledge to do it for myself. So now I'm able to run multiple businesses because I've worked multiple positions.
Yes.
And I understand how to do, like, some of it is just manual work. Like it's repetitive. You do the same thing over and over. This is the process.
Mm-hmm.
And most companies have set up a machine.
Mhm.
This part, 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 and then it produces this.
Mhm.
If everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, we're gonna produce this. Then we sell this. Once we sell this, we keep producing more. That's how most companies are. But understanding all of that and being able to put that together, I'm creatively, I create, but my creativity now is really focused on creating the work environment I wish I had.
Right. When you were at those companies.
When I was at,
which being at those companies also helped you
yeah,
understand,
absolutely,
right, what you
absolutely.
wanted.
Like
Yes.
I still need the structure. Like my brother had a conversation with me yesterday. Like every time my brother says, "Hey, come and knock on the door and say I need to talk to you," I already be knowing he's coming with the big brother talk about something I'm not doing. I already know. And it's never that I'm well, I mean, maybe one time when I was dealing with postpartum, but I'm always open to hearing from him. But this time when he came, I was like, okay. But I found myself, because I was in my workspace, I found myself like, okay. And I was on the phone with my friend guy, which was a different thing. And I was like, okay. And I caught myself about to try to think about what he wanted me to talk about, whatever. But I said, no, I'm going to enjoy this one right here because I had just got some really good news. I'm going to I'm working on it. And when I went to talk with him, he pretty much was saying like, okay, you need to work on this area here more because this is an issue. This is this. And
Your brother was saying that.
This is my brother saying it. So now me understanding the machine, my family, my life is my company, my kids, the way all of that is how it, like if my house is out of order, my business is out of order.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if because my house it carries such a heavy, big part of what I do, I cannot make I can make business decisions over here, but if it interferes with what I'm doing over here, then I'm stopped on it. So I've learned a lot with, working at these companies and now doing it for myself. I'm really like putting things together where I'm able to show up being 100% my authentic self. I don't have to not be good because I've worked at jobs where I was better than most people there, and I got fired because you didn't like me. Not because I wasn't doing the job. But you fired me because I didn't like me.
I was young. I was like 20, and it was a little company, and they were like this company over here, and then across the hall, us. We were a division of them, and the president of this company called me into his office one night, and he said, I just have to tell you this. You could never do this today, but anyway, he said, I just don't like you. I really don't. And if you were not so technically good at what you did, I would fire you because I just don't like you. And I walked out of there and I was like, wow.
That would have made me cry.
No,
probably.
No, I was so excited because I was like, wow, I'm really good at this. This is totally what I should do with my career because this guy doesn't even like me and just told me that if I wasn't so good at it, he'd fire me. So this is totally the career for me.
Right.
And I stayed with it, and it was
way to have a silver lining.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your therapy in college that he told you. He taught you, sorry, not to give a crap
He
about
did.
what anybody said.
It was post that therapist, yes.
Of course.
And it was a job I had fallen into. So I had gone to apply to 2 different part-time jobs. One of them paid $2 an hour more, and I took the one that paid $2 an hour less because it just seemed interesting. And that was the job that I had taken.
Mhm.
And I didn't even know that field existed, and it became my career. Just random accident, you know. But yeah, I'll never forget when he said that to me, but I took it as, wow, that's fantastic. But to go back to what you were saying, I did a lot of research on cooperative learning and cooperative workspaces and whatnot when I taught. And just about every executive will tell you that the number one reason people lose their jobs is because they cannot get along with people. And they're not likable, and they can't learn, and they can't get along with people. Because you could be the best in the world, and in most cases, if you're a dick, you're not going to last there. Or if you don't fit in, or if they just don't like you for whatever reason. People want to be with people they like.
And I agree. I agree. It goes against what you go in business for.
Yeah.
Go in business to make money, you know.
But we're humans, and the unlike the
and
stock
I get
market
it.
is still
The error,
emotionally
it's
driven.
error. It's the human error, and I get it. I agree, but I think I know now because I understand that, and that's what happened. I want to make sure I'm creating an environment for me to be the best me. So I want that to be for anybody I work with. Like, I don't limit the people that work with me. Like, your idea better than my idea. Let's go with that idea.
Oh,
Like,
exactly. You can't have
listen,
ego.
I don't want to have all the ideas.
But people do have that ego thing,
Yes.
right? Which is so damaging.
Yeah.
Everybody can have a good idea.
And honestly, it's why those companies like that, they go out of business, they fail, because they don't understand that their best ideas are coming from the people on the front line.
Mm-hmm.
Like these executives that sit up in top and then look at the numbers and everything. Like now we are because we're capitalism. We all know, but now we are where we are in society today. We are emotionally driven to buy, to support, to vote. A lot of us are moved on our emotions on how we do something. What love, like people who like iPhone don't like iPhone. They love iPhone. They won't go get anything else because they've attached an emotion to it. And if that's the case, the era in the way that business has been done, and I think we're seeing a change in that, and with women now coming into leadership positions, that you gotta give just as much weight to human emotions as you do to the numbers.
I think so, but I'm uncomfortable. I think having more women, just like having more of any other group, is always a good thing because it's a diverse perspective. But every time, because I always go to the dark side, every time I hear somebody say, if women ruled the world or something like that, right? I say to them, I have two words for you, Betsy DeVos. Because it isn't, there are women out there who are just terrible people.
And I think that I think it's potentially easier to look at what would happen when you look at the women, not all, but the women that go into politics are not representative of all women.
No.
They're representative more of a politician
Yeah,
than
that's
of
a good
woman.
point. And they are.
So there's that. But there was something that she said, and it touched on something else that I read. Oh, I know. You were talking about how people, they're into something they either love, it's not, oh, I have an iPhone. It's like, I love it. Well, going back to she who will not be named.
Brene Brown!
We said we wouldn't say the name because it makes
Hey, that's
us
you
cringe.
guys, you. Don't mean I can't have fun with
Well,
it.
I'm just saying.
I
I know if you're enjoying making her cringe over there, we can say it. But anyway,
I'm gonna have to weigh in one day on Brene Brown, but right now I'm neutral. Neutral.
So, in this book the one that I just finished, which I didn't realize I hadn't read, called Braving the Wilderness, she talks about you're again, it's a lot about othering, right? So it's either like this division that we have in our world right now. It's you're either
with us or against us. And that's everything. So if I'm on this political party, then I'm against everything on that party. And this is why I wanted you to listen to it so much, because I was like, or read it, because I was like, oh my God, this is so exactly what Dawn and I talk about. Like, I can be, I can say I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat or whatever I identify with, but I consider myself also very open to ideas from the other party. It's not because this is a Republican or Democrat idea that I am before
it's loyalist
against
idea for parties that
she talked about how somebody came up to her with a discussion about guns, and she's like, saying, oh, I can't believe you're for the, and she said, wait a second, it's not black or white.
Right.
It is not black or white. And I refuse to have a conversation where I am reduced to being either with you or against you, because we as human beings are more nuanced. We are complex. We are not. And the thing is when we do become part of something where we just start, we don't even question, we just are like, absolutely, this is my party, this is where I am. This is my religion, this is where I am. When we stop, first of all, we other people. But we also lose a lot of our capacity for reasoning. And when you were saying the thing about the iPhone, the loving something, you can love something, but then sometimes you lose that perspective. So it's good to keep a check and balance with yourself about, how am I looking at this, which is very hard to do.
But I think we have a big problem here is that we don't have a lot of diverse influences in our immediate circle. So
in our immediate circle, yes, that's correct.
Because if I'm not having conversations with someone who could give me a different perspective and everybody's agreeing, we all loyalists, we're going to stay down this path and we're going to butt heads with others all the time.
But that serves another purpose besides political. That makes me feel like I belong.
Yeah.
So we're getting our sense of belonging by attaching ourselves to a political party, for
our
example,
beliefs,
right now,
and we are not our beliefs.
Right, but it's the group that has our beliefs. And that group that has a belief, there's probably, a Venn circle. There's part that I agree with, there's part
that you
don't.
Yeah.
And then there's the part where but I think if we become aware that we are in general, and again, we're using that we because it's not everybody, but as a community, as our world, we are tending to block out conversations, or it's not even conversation, it's just, it won't even come, like sometimes it just doesn't even cross our minds to really truly question some of the ideas that are, supposed to be with our group. And that fear of being othered from our group keeps us from really wanting to even question.
And I don't know if it was always like this. I feel like it wasn't.
I think it's always been somewhat.
But
I think about
feel
the good old boys.
Yeah, but I feel like,
there's always been something.
But from politics, I think it's absolutely what's right. And I think there used to be a lot more bipartisanship.
Yeah.
And this is frustrating to me. And it's like that movie I told you about that I think everybody should watch, The House of Sand and Fog, which is very dark. But it's a perfect example of like a palm tree. If you don't bend, you break. And that is, and I think I had mentioned this to you before. I think with Simone Biles, I was so horrified to see. I could have predicted with 90% accuracy at least how my friends voted in the last election based on how they took the news of her bowing out of the Olympics. It was so depressing. Every friend of mine that voted for Biden said, good for her for taking care of herself, Every friend of mine that voted for Trump said, I can't believe she let her team down. How dare she take a spot from somebody who could have competed? It was so appalling to me to see even that fall along those lines. And I really feel like and I could be wrong, but I really feel like 20 or 30 years ago, that might not have been the case. But it's as if we've chosen a path and now it colors our thinking about everything,
Yeah.
which is so unhealthy.
And a lot of it, honestly, to me, is fake outrage. Like, you really don't care. Like, literally.
No, but you're screaming, I'm with you, I'm with you, come join me, I'm here. I mean, I'm serious that this is all about our lack of feeling a sense of belonging in general. So we're going to find the sense of belonging and sense of purpose and by identifying with a political, affiliation. And that, I think if we can look and I have no clue about how to go about that, but if we really examine ourselves, if we really were to examine ourselves and say, why am I so attached to every single idea of my political party?
But I'm not. So I just changed my party.
I know you did, but again, this we is is most, but not all. Because I feel like I'm very open. I mean, and there are things that trigger me and things that if you talk to me about them, I do realize there's cognitive dissonance. I get it, but I am aware of it. Not everybody is even aware of that.
No. Oh, I think people are not self-aware. Like,
Yeah. And I mean, there's this book, and someone told me about it, and when I just read through the summary in a couple pages, it was trying to say, it was talking about the 5 ways of governing and how a democracy is the worst of these 5 to govern a mass of people. And it's so funny because this movie, I don't know if you guys ever saw like the series Divergent.
Did I see that?
Divergent.
Or it's on my list.
What's
it about?
So it's about these. It's about this girl and these people, really, who they could call them divergents, where once they get a certain age, a kid gets a certain age, they show up to this place and they choose where they want to be. If they want to be here, free person, or here, but it's based on like a test they give them that's where they're gonna go. They got the political people over here, they got these people over, they got all of these things. And what this person, these people do is they're good and they can pass the test in all of these categories. So they're considered divergents, which the bigger powers that be don't want those people to be. And I kind of, free thinkers. Like I think with the party affiliation and these loyalists and these allegiance that we're pledging, we are taking away our individuality. And that doesn't mean that I can't be over here, but that does not mean I support everything over here.
Well, and I think that's the problem, right? And I do think, again, 20 years ago, you could be a Democrat who voted for Republicans, and you could be a Republican who voted for Democrats.
Yeah.
And now,
because there's the loyalist idea. Like
yes.
it's the loyalist idea that you have to be a loyal follower.
Right. And again, I go back to we are in desperate need of a sense of belonging. And that's why I think we've gotten so fanatical about
taking a really interesting
aside.
point.
If we could find a way that we didn't feel that we all felt some sort of sense of belonging, then perhaps we would start to heal whatever this division is.
I'm going to bring up a curmudgeonly thought here.
Okay, curmudgeon.
But there has been a lot of research on this, actually. The precipitous decline in this country in church and civic membership pretty much accompanies this shift to this cult-like thinking about politics. Because when people felt that they belonged because they were in their church or in the Rotary or in the Kiwanis or in the whatever, right? They had that sense of belonging. And then we have all been deciding that we don't need that, but we do. and we're finding it somewhere else.
We
And-
absolutely do.
And I think I gotta say, this is the real curmudgeon part. I think we were better off as a society when people did belong to all these different things and didn't have to get all of their sense of belonging from,
One place.
yeah.
Yeah. I think,
Well,
but
yeah.
I think we are, I think there's a battle between those two right now happening
Yeah.
because you look at us.
Right.
We don't always agree,
Right.
but we have conversations to get understanding, to get perspective,
And to
to
learn.
learn. So that one day that may not or may, however, we are not committed to going one direction.
Mm-hmm.
We are not saying that this is the only direction, there's no other, this is the absolute truth. And what happens quite a bit with people, even with churches, you know, the idea of church now has changed tremendously.
Yes.
And
And it's another, if you're not with us, you're going to hell.
well, I see that too. But as what happens is, I think these good old boys are dying off.
Mm-hmm.
And while the remnants of them is still there, a lot of their grandchildren have had conversations with people from different backgrounds because we become more diverse.
Mm-hmm.
So that their minds are more open. Now, of course, you're going to have greed anywhere.
Yes.
You're going to have, like, those character traits can show up in anybody.
Yes.
But for the principle of the only people that sit at this table are white people, no, there are people who know now a diverse table is a wealthy table.
Yes.
If you only want white people money, then you ain't gonna get that much money, because let's look at the global scale. The majority of the people in this world are melanated people. So you're gonna only want that money. That's a conversation to have.
Yes.
And it for the good old boys club, that minimizes their power. Like,
And
there
people
are
hate
less of you than there
And
are
this
of
is
us.
something
So-
I've never understood, is people that look at things as a zero-sum game.
yeah, like,
That if you have more, I have less, which is just not the case. By the way, this is all delicious. Oh my God. I gotta get
yeah, Don,
some
it is.
water.
Let me get some
I'm so
water.
sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
And I'm gonna, one more food thing and then I swear I'm done. Whose bananas are those? Oh my
You can
God.
have some when they're ready.
It was like 50 bananas on that thing.
It's Jane doesn't eat them, and so
Wow.
I have, and I think they're kind of both of ours, I guess.
That is a very successful banana plant.
So I wanted to say something about what you were talking about before, about how we have conversations, and I wanted to bring up again She Who Will Not Be Named.
God.
This is because it's the book I just read, also, but also because it's
Likely
relevant
story.
and pertinent. But she gives a definition, and I can't find it right here. She's quoting someone else, but she says, this is the best definition of civilization
Mm.
I've ever heard. And she talks about being civilized is the ability to have a conversation
Mhm.
and to listen
Mhm.
and to not, go into. So we are becoming, based on that,
Uncivil.
an
Yeah, we are uncivil.
uncivilized society,
it's
that
fun.
we can no longer share ideas and
Yeah.
opinions without being incredibly,
Not-
emotionally volatile.
Not knowing the history, I have said for years that serving in the Senate or Congress or whatever should be like just a really long jury duty. And that they should just randomly pluck people from the neighborhood to go serve for 2 years. And then they have to come back and they have to face their neighbors. And then I was reading up on like ancient Greek history, which I had not read. And in the original Greek democracy, that is exactly what they did.
Mhm.
They just randomly picked citizens to go serve.
Mhm.
And I think that is a big part of our issue, although it just feels like, and it feels like now is like so much worse than it's ever been before. And I don't know
I
why
think
that is.
because we, I think also too, we gotta be mindful of Dave Chappelle. Do you guys watch?
Oh my God, there was a huge thing on Dave Chappelle this morning on NPR because the NPR critic Eric Duggins said it did not like what he did and people went berserk and they're like, dude, get a sense of humor.
not only that, like he made like I love comedians.
Me too.
Period.
Me too.
I love them. I love their especially comedians that are politically knowledgeable and able to real world funny shit that it ain't funny, but you gotta laugh.
Right.
'Cause
Yes. Yes.
You're right. And he spoke about one of the rappers, the baby who said something heinous, something so heinous. But he's a rapper, and it's the culture that
Right.
they do. They always do it, and that addresses a whole nother issue. And he spoke about how, speaking on the
So
baby
good. Oh my God.
and saying how, he's nobody to play with, pretty much saying like he killed somebody, right?
Mhm.
But nothing happened to his career.
Mm.
But that says something about where we are as a country. That you can kill somebody and nothing happened to your career, but you can say something that offends the LGBT community.
Oh, I
and
love
you lose
that.
your entire career.
Oh, I love
Or
that.
you
Oh,
say- or
and
you
that-
kneel.
Oh my God.
Or you kneel.
Or you kneel, or you do,
Or you I mean,
like-
you.
that, like you were killing somebody,
Is okay.
That's okay.
Offending somebody is not.
but you. And we, and
Oh, I
I think
love
that,
that.
even pushes the idea like we're going into a society
Well,
where they're
that's the cancel.
eliminating
That's-
valedictorians, right?
Well, that's the cancel
Right,
culture.
right. Because
right?
God forbid. God
You-
forbid somebody should be the best.
Like there are people who are
Better than you.
better.
Right.
Like
Period.
that makes the people who are okay.
Not better than you. Let's clarify. Better at studying. Better at
Yeah,
something,
Okay.
but
that's
not
it.
better than you.
Performed better,
Better
than you.
academically.
Academically.
People
Correct.
who perform better than
Yes.
you. Period.
Yes.
Yeah, and it doesn't. And I think we try to make it. There's this big, this is where we got to be real, brutally real with each
Yeah.
other. I can't do everything you do.
And I can't do it.
And I can't do everything you do.
Right. Why is that a problem?
We need everything to move this world.
No.
Absolutely.
I don't understand this insane.
Because I want to do what you can do the way. Because if I were happy with what I could do,
Oh, maybe that's
you
it.
see what I'm
'Cause
saying?
people are
So part of
unhappy.
it's that. But there's
But that's-
something even interesting underneath
Mm.
this phenomenon of not giving out valedictorian or not giving prizes or not giving
Right.
trophies. And again, it has to do with belonging. This person is not going to feel like they're part of it because we don't want to hurt their feelings. We want people to feel like they belong. So it's almost like a pendulum. It's like when
Oh, the pendulum is
It's-
definitely
Wait,
swung
it's
between
almost
insanity.
but what's the reason for it? So like way back in the 60s when women were burning bras and not wearing bras and not whatever it was that they were doing, it was like it had to do all that so it could create more of a middle.
Mhm.
And I think this whole thing of this, let's not have trophies or valedictorians, is happening so that we have that middle. But what is the
I hope so.
underlying cause? Just like the underlying cause of being so divided is that we don't want to be divided, that we want to belong.
Mhm.
Part of this not giving trophies is we don't want other people. We don't want people to feel like they aren't part. And by giving somebody a trophy and not giving somebody else, they feel, I'm not saying this is right. I do not agree with that. I definitely think that, you should acknowledge when someone, like if you're better at, math, well, great, have a math award. But then you start having to work with the individual. You aren't less than Dawn because Dawn is a math whiz.
Mhm.
You are less at math than Dawn, but that's not a personal, that doesn't mean Abby as a human being is worse as a human being. It means that Abby doesn't do math like Dawn does math. But people it seems hard for people to separate that.
Yes. I see so much when I go. I love it. Like it's this whole world. TikTok is
Mhm.
like it's like a passport. You go all different places.
Oh my God, it's
Just
hilarious.
it's.
I love that way
I
you're
love
looking
it.
at
I
it.
do honestly. When social media went down the other day, I was on TikTok. Like, so, but I think for America where we are, I think the idea of the American dream has been tainted. because one of my uncle said something to me, text me, and about a project I'm working on, and he was like, throw my name in the mix because he does it, and I was like, Uncle, your name already in the mix, and he was like, that's right. Two pieces of the pie is better than one piece. So I say, well, I don't want a piece of the pie. I want the recipe. I can make my own pie.
Oh, I love that.
I need the butter. I need the ingredients. I need to know what it takes to make this so I can create my own American dream or African dream or England, whatever I want to be.
Your American dream.
Yes. And I think because we kind of made this peak of the American dream be something that we should aspire to, it looks a certain way to everybody. Like I need the house, the dog, the wife, the kids, and all that. But what the hell if I don't want to get married? What if I don't like dogs?
Right.
You know, like it
I don't know.
It took out our. I think because and there are studies that talked about this, and I do think there's a degree of programming that we have been programmed to go after something that maybe that ain't what we want anyway.
And we should go after what we want.
Right. Like college school became something like, okay, when you get out of school, you need to go to college.
Which is crazy.
But it was a time where they would teach a home ec in
right.
A wood shop and all of these things. And like those people are successful too. And it's like we've taken.
That's a big movement, is actually to take that stigma off of vocational education.
Yeah.
Because those people make a ton of money.
Listen,
and are happy and oh my God. Yeah.
My vocation has gotten me jobs that was the only single qualification that I had. Everything else they had on there to be. And then, of course, it ain't what you know, it's who you know.
Yep.
I've always been put in positions where on paper, I may not be qualified.
Right.
But because I have the trade, and then on top of that, I had years of experience in the trade. So you guys are like, I taught and I ran cosmetology programs.
I remember that, yep.
For a good 10 years. And working at different schools, seeing how it worked. Like I went to do that. I went to school to get my license to do hair because it was a scholarship that I was given. I paid for it. Was actually, I was a teenage mother. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go to college, but I went because I felt like, hey, I had this baby. At least I got to do something because everybody mad now. So I'm like,
I love that.
And so I went to school. I hated college.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated it. I loved learning.
Yeah.
But I hated college. And it that falls all into me now being an entrepreneur. Like I love learning. I love doing things. I love putting things together. I love doing it, but I don't like working in an environment where I don't have control over my time. I need to have control over my time. Which
is one of the cool things about, I will say, online learning, right?
Yeah.
Because you can do it when you're at your best, and maybe you learn best at 2 a.m, right? Or
and maybe you learn best doing video, like or audio. Like I know I'm a visual and auditory person. If I see you do something, I'm gonna watch it a couple times. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, see,
and then once I do it,
I am auditory and I read. Mm-hmm. And when I see, we're gonna have a video to show you, my heart just sinks because I can't follow it. I need it written down so I can look at the step, do the step, go to the next step, do the next step. The videos make me crazy, but I get the value for others. And when I taught, there was something like the 7 different styles of learning.
I give that test in my class. I give that.
Yes. Because everybody does learn differently.
Everybody.
And that's okay.
And I think, even with me teaching, working at these jobs, I went from teaching to working in the business department. I've taught a business class to doing job placement for to actually running the department. So I know what's the inner workings of those departments and stuff. But I also saw how so much like people are here just because this is a job. They don't love to do this. Like we just here because
And the number of teachers who are
and the work ethic of people who don't like their job.
no, it's terrible.
Poor.
It is poor.
It's poor.
And when I taught and I saw the number of teachers who just should not be teaching it's awful. And they have so much influence over kids. And it's a shame. It really
and now
is.
I'm not gonna put that like I take out that falls on the person too who applies for the job because nobody put a gun in your head to make you apply for that job.
Exactly right.
So that accountability falls on you, but also on the jobs and the people. There is so much pressure. I ran the department, and the department that I ran had like I can remember going to the school, running this department. My first program manager job. I remember when I went there, they had 199 students in the program, but they had like HVAC teaching, nursing. They had all different trades that you can get in at the college. So cosmetology was one of the biggest programs, which means it was their money maker.
Oh, right, yeah.
So their formula with these schools, for-profit schools, are horrible.
Yeah.
They are
I know.
horrible.
It's terrible.
Because it's not about teaching. It's about profits.
Yes.
So
yes, which is so frustrating.
It don't really matter. It's just profit.
And so many people that
it's not about quality of students that have the capability. Like I've had students come in the program and admissions have so much pressure on them to have so many enrollments for this month that I've had a student come sit in my class and look at me and she don't speak a lick of English. How is she gonna learn in my class? I don't speak Spanish.
Right. She's not gonna learn.
But
she was a body in the seat and money.
And money. Because day one, the way they had it written, their policy, day one, you can go send off to get the money for financial aid because they target at-risk people. They go into the schools that are
and the vulnerable.
That's what they target.
So awful.
You know, these people aren't going to college anyway, so this is how we're going to get them. The lows that they would go to meet those numbers because they would lose their job like quick. Like everyone lose your job and people needed a job. I get it. But as a teacher, as a human, I would literally like argue. And then my thing is because I cared. I'm sitting here, I'm listening, I'm talking to someone who really wants to do a program and this is something she really wants to do. So, hey, listen, if you guys keep having Spanish people coming through this program that want to take it and we don't have it, get a Spanish instructor who can teach it.
Right.
So, well, no, that's a whole nother program. So you're gonna keep putting people in here who that's not their first language. And then I had a student so committed that she was going to school in the daytime for cosmetology and taking 3 nights a week and going to learn English. And she, after about 2 months, she was like, no, because she got to learn English first, before you can go through this program. Try to do it at the same time is
and academic language is the last part of a language that you develop.
And English is the hardest language to learn.
It's so hard.
We have a hard time learning.
It's so hard, right?
I don't know if it's the hardest, but it's not
easy. I used to say to people all the time when I taught, like, you know, because they were so unsympathetic to these kids in the ESOL program, the other the American teachers, right? It was just terrible. And I said, you know, again, empathy, belonging, right? Not othering people.
And all.
How would you feel if when you were 15, your parents came home and said, we're moving to Italy and you're going to learn chemistry in Italian? Like, how well would you have done? I mean,
I told you I was sent into a all Spanish school. I was, I wasn't 15, which would have been traumatic.
Yeah,
but I was 8. And there was not one person
that spoke English.
And my mother had inadvertently, get this, I skipped a grade because so I was
Well, the
going-
grading is very
the
different, and
grading
it's
is
very hard to
different.
place
So
people.
I was going into the 5th grade here. I should have gone into the 4th grade
Right.
there, and I went into the 5th grade. So I, in effect, skipped a grade
Right.
in a language I did
didn't
not
know, yeah, no.
speak. Luckily, I was able to do it, and but
It's hard.
yeah, and I never felt. I don't think again, with my mom being a single mom and all that, and a completely different culture, I just always felt other, always.
Oh,
Always.
interesting. So I wonder how other you would have felt had you stayed here and grown up here. I wonder if you would be as cognizant of how important belonging is.
I don't.
I kind of think
maybe
you
in
would
a-
have because it's
I
you,
would have,
but I think for
in a
some people,
different,
yeah.
I think it deepened that understanding.
Yes,
for
I think
sure.
you were born to feel this way,
I was.
but I think it deepened.
I think it definitely deepened it. I mean, because I was always, different. I mean, yeah. Don't laugh. I was also different in good ways. I was in the gifted classes back when they
You're
just
different.
started with the
I
gifted,
was
the gifted
Always
classes.
special and good.
I know it was, and I remember in the 1st grade, I literally was already reading chapter books.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think the first book I ever picked up was about Roosevelt, but for some reason it was written in a way that was really entertaining to me. I
For
read it as
kids.
a chapter book. I mean, it was a big
Yeah.
book. And I picked it up and I read the whole thing. And they had me in 1st grade for some reason and not in the bullets, which was the best readers. They had
Right.
me in the rainbows, which were the second readers.
Oh, they could never call good
And-
readers bullets now.
and-
Oh my
right,
God,
oh
can you
my
imagine a
gosh.
school?
But
That
I'm
had the
sorry,
bullets
my
group?
dog seems to have a little gas.
That's okay, I don't smell it.
But anyway, I remember having to be like, wait a second, but I'm a good reader.
Right, why am I in there?
Why am I in here? And and eventually they moved me up. But
Right.
but it. Which comes to another point, which is once they've categorized you, it's hard to get out.
It's
of
so
that
hard to
category.
get out. And I know
so it
other-
took me a long, but then I went into the fast readers, and then I went into the gifted.
Right.
But I remember, and I was only what
We didn't have
6.
gifted. I did.
I mean, I think I was just starting when I.
Yeah, because we didn't have gifted. We had something in New Jersey called accelerated math,
Mm-hmm.
where you got math I was good at. You got to take algebra 1 in 8th grade, and then I don't remember exactly, but anyway, the point was you were like ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it ended with AP Calculus senior year in high school. And we started the accelerated math program with probably 60 kids. There were 2 middle schools that fit into 1 high school. By the time we got to AP Calculus, there were like 12 of us left, 15 maybe, right? And my mother, 12 years later, when I told her I decided to be a teacher and I was going to teach math, she laughed and she's like, and math was always your worst subject. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, I was in AP Calculus and I was 16, Ma. Like, way to raise a type A personality, Ma. Oh my God.
That's weird.
But she was so demanding. Oh my God, my mother was demanding.
But why would she say that was your worst subject?
Because, I get to AP Calculus, right? And for the first time in my life, in any subject,
You gotta be.
I don't fucking understand a goddamn thing, like nothing. I understand nothing. And it didn't matter how he explained it, and it didn't matter how many times I did it. I did not get it on a fundamental level.
Math is
Welcome to my world and math.
I think I squeaked by with a D. I didn't bother taking the AP exam. It was a joke. But I had this great teacher, Mr. Jardo, and I remember he said to me, look, for whatever reason, calculus is just something that some people need to hear twice. And I promise you're going to go to college next year, and like within the first 2 weeks, that professor is going to say something, and you're going to be like, oh my God. And then it's going to be like a light bulb went off, and it's going to be like arithmetic. You'll be fine. And he was totally right. It did. That light bulb went off. I ended up tutoring other people in it. It was crazy. It was really strange.
Right.
But I was a voracious reader. I was a decent writer. I was pretty good at most things. But Whether she got stuck on the AP Cal, who knows what her problem was. But I was that kid, you know, I'd bring home 4 A's and a B, and my mother would be like, "You want to talk about that B?" And I was like, "No, can we talk about the 4 A's?" Is who she was. I mean, and my father, had he been really involved in that kind of thing, he probably would have been similar. It's how they were Greek and from New England, and so like nothing less than perfection would do. But they expected a lot.
Math for me was horrible, but I had some really good teachers in English.
Mm-hmm. And the teachers make it.
English teachers seem to be a type. And
See, and what I
awesome.
didn't like about English as opposed to math, the purity of math is that there is an objective result. 2 and 2 is 4. It just is. You can debate about how to get it, but it's always going to be 4. Whereas English, by definition, is subjective.
Right.
And there are some grammatical rules, but you can because you can like my essay, you can enjoy the topic I picked or feel triggered by it, or just not like my writing style or whatever. But that was one of the things I did always like about math was the purity of the
end result.
Yes.
That being,
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked math. I just wasn't good at it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. From 1 + 1, I didn't like it. I did not like math, and the only math class I was good at, which creatively makes it geometry.
Yep.
Because the lines, the grids, which I don't even think that should be like a math class, but okay, I get it.
Geometry is the revenge of the poorly performing Algebra 1 students.
Listen,
because Algebra 1 students go into geometry and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Listen,
yes.
And then when I went to school for my specialty in hair. For my cosmetology is hair cutting. It's my specialty. I can cut anybody's hair. It does not matter. And I was really good. I would teach that class. Even with my teaching, when I taught that class, I would teach that class at a bowling alley.
You have to tell me how my hair is because I got it cut yesterday.
Your hair looks good.
Yeah.
I like it.
I love your hair. Your highlights are always good. I like
great.
They're not always. I just got them done yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
I
looks
was
very nice.
looking at my
I like
her married with my hair all the same length. It was awful. I mean, when she cut my hair, it was like I was like, oh, I feel so much better now.
Yeah.
But
she does good. She does good. I like
nice.
it. But that was a class I taught at the bowling alley to get them to understand degrees.
Yeah.
And
which is so smart.
Yeah, but it was fun.
Yes.
Like I don't want to do stuff that's not
and learning
fun.
should be
fun. Should be fun.
So I did this. I said one day I used to have all these ideas as I was teaching. Right, they would occur to me, and it was so funny because one day I was like, "Oh, I have an idea." And one of the girls was like, "Because they always call you Miss. I don't know what that is, but kids in every other country, Miss, right?"
Miss.
And she was like, I hate when you get ideas." I was like, "Okay, well, whatever." But there's the day before the test when you do the chapter review, and generally the teacher stands up there and drones on. You go through the problems, and half the class is asleep. And I was like, "No, we can do this differently." So
we're about to wrap up the interview. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I did was I took the chapter review, which was like 20 questions, and before the kids got to class, I set up musical chairs, and I put on like Power 96. And when the music, it was literally musical chairs. It was not meditation music, no.
Not Power 96.
So when the music stopped, anybody who wasn't sitting had to go do the next chapter review problem at the board with help from the kids, right? And so there was mad scrambling at the beginning because they wanted the easier questions, which are always at the beginning of the chapter review, right? And by the time but it was hilarious. And it got their wigglies out and why can't we just teach like that? It's just so much. And you're physical, so you're engaged in
education.
But the other teachers, I mean, I was not popular. Talk about being like, I was not popular at that school.
Yeah, and that's the job when I said I was fired from the school, I was for 6 months straight. I had the best numbers in the company as far as retention. Remember I told you retention, keeping students.
Right. Keep those money.
And keeping students who came to me, they stayed. And I had them for the first 3 months, which is the hardest time. Right. I had them from intro. So if I'm going to lose them, if you're going to lose them, that's where you're going to lose them. That's the quickest way to lose them there. I had the hardest chapters, the boring chapters too.
Right.
Life skills, intro to cosmetology,
Mhm.
anatomy,
Right.
physiology, like I had chemistry. Like I had the boring chapters when it comes to hair.
Right.
Like they want to go.
Right. They're not there to do.
They not here. Anatomy, miss. What we doing anatomy for? Like these are anatomy.
Right.
I would teach anatomy in workout. When we go to the
Right,
beach,
right.
work out.
Right.
Because now I need, when I'm talking about muscles, we start working out. You're gonna start feeling which
And
muscle
yeah,
is
that's
what.
so fine. That
You know?
kinesthetic learning, it engages the senses, right?
And it gives them a way to go out. They go into the beach. They
Right.
can put on their sweat.
So much better.
Like, and I would do this because this is what I want to do. I don't want to be in the office
Right.
with y'all today. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to sit here. But I'm a creative. I'm a creative person. So even in my I was on Clubhouse, and even when they was talking about how CEOs, they've now created this thing where CEOs need to be instead of chief executive office, they need to be creative executive office,
Mhm.
because that's where they allow people like that allow creativity to exist in the workforce, where chiefs are like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and all.
Mhm.
And that is like what has to happen in education. I remember having the conversation time and time again. We lose people because we don't meet them where they are.
Yes.
That's
And our school systems literally haven't changed in 100 years.
yeah, like they're
They
the only
think that
ones.
no, they are the only
They
ones.
are the
There's
only
no
ones.
institution as resistant to
As
change
education.
as education. They still
And that's
think it's
part of the
1958.
doctrining. That's I really think that's part of the doctrining that like we haven't, like now, even now, the big conversation about how do we teach history, the way it happened. Like that's how we teach it, the way it happened.
Right. Why is that so hard?
That's not hard. I think, and I think what happens a lot
Problem
is
is how it happened according to who.
To-
Well, that is also true.
there you go.
You know, that
That is true. But why can't we teach? Well, from this person's perspective, this is what it was like. Because again,
And give it,
from
yeah,
this
and then
person's
open,
perspective, you have two
yeah.
very different sides of this.
I mean, there's
debate.
certain things that are just the way they are.
Well, there's certain
you know,
facts.
the treaty
Right.
was signed this day. It was
Yeah,
between
exactly,
these
right.
countries.
But the rest of it,
yeah, but a
is
lot of it is,
interpretation.
yeah. I mean,
you know,
it is.
no,
But
it's
I'm
true.
gonna bring us back to because we're about to finalize,
Yes, we're
right?
about to
So,
wrap up.
so what my takeaway was, or my biggest takeaway was from this conversation, which is just again, it's just who I am, and a perfect example of how we see things through our own filter.
Yes.
So my filter is always belonging.
Yes.
But I do see, I mean, and reconfirmed with the conversation that the great sense of longing to belong is one of the reasons that we are divided. And it's one because
yeah.
people want to belong so much that they feel they have to other to belong to
Yeah.
a group.
Mhm.
And
And
so
conform to belong to a
and
group.
conform.
We're
and-
divergent. When you guys watch the movie, you'll
Yeah.
see that we're divergent.
Mhm.
We don't have to belong, but we understand the need to belong.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I think that seeking ways to help people feel a sense of belonging without having to be part of a political party
Right.
or realize that what is being what they are feeding with that almost fanatical sometimes participation in a
Yes.
political party.
Yes.
What really needs to be fed is the sense of humanity and belonging
Mhm.
that I think is lacking.
I love that. Yes. And just
so that was
whoever
my
you are.
takeaway for the
I like
day.
that takeaway for the day. And on that note, we're gonna say goodbye.
Oh, you're not going to do takeaways? It's just me. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very
No,
much
we're
for
gonna-
joining.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead. We're not done. Sarah.
Takeaway. My takeaway today, I guess it probably won't have anything to do with what we talk about, but the appreciation.
Oh, your takeaway from the conversation has nothing to do with the
What we're talking
conversation.
about. It has everything to do with these with this, what we're doing. It is, I look forward to this. I do. I look forward to it. It helps me spiritually, mentally, physically, everything. It definitely is something that I hope more people do, have
Yes.
these types of circles of accountability
Yeah.
and perspective and conversation, so that we don't other people.
I love
We
that.
just see
I
people.
love that.
Yeah. Yes,
I love
thank you.
I need a takeaway. Oh,
You don't have to do a takeaway.
Thank you. Because I can belong without having
You
it.
can belong
Thanks to that
without
therapist
it.
when I
There
was
you go,
19.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think you might feel it's covered, or you might just have a lot. Or you
I
might
mean,
not have anything,
I
you know.
echo both of you.
Right.
You know, it is the belonging. I really love the idea. I would love to see us find a way to sort of expand this and encourage people to do this themselves and make this whole sort of collective of people doing this all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And I know people have tried to do this, but it never seems to stick. And I feel like something about the way we're doing it for us three is sticky
Mhm.
and is going to continue because it is very gratifying.
Even if no one is watching.
Yes. We'll be here.
Listen, this is people watching even when you think nobody watching.
They are.
That's
and,
true.
And it is true after I see a lot of people because it's middle of the day.
Mhm.
And there are people that have
Yeah, so
have
what the
normal
hell do
jobs.
you guys do
Right.
for a
No,
living that you not?
Exactly.
Well,
That's what I'm
we
saying.
could-
People have
You know
normal
what?
jobs.
People could be joining us for their lunchtime. having
Yeah, I had a
lunch
friend of
and
mine who
walking
she
us
sent me after she saw us on the
Mhm.
live, and she sent me she was like, "Oh, you're expanding your wings." She said, "Like I was watching you on my lunch break." She's a teacher,
Oh, cool.
so she was like, "I'll set the alarm." I forgot to remind her.
Very cool. But I am seeing people watch after they go in and catch
Well,
up. I think
that's
it's cool.
good.
All right. Anyway, goodbye.
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 Have a
Bye.
wonderful day. And we will see you next week.
Yes.
Yes, we will. I'll be able to eat.
Yes, you will.
exciting.
Oh, I know.